Youth Pastor Fails.
That was it.
That's good. Hey guys, Mark,
Jono,
Neil,
and we're talking about Youth Pastor Fails. One of the areas that I have struggled with, and I guess anybody that teaches, is I'm a little ADD, and I'm easy to distract. So when kids are acting up and talking or laughing or whatever they're doing, man, it can throw me off my game a little bit. You probably never noticed.
I had no idea.
I know.
Knock me over with a feather.
I mask it in the Holy Spirit. But at times when it flusters us, you know, and you feel stupid, like you feel like you don't know what you're saying, we want to get that back to whoever's causing the problem. And I've gotten so good at it over the years. There may have been a few years early, since I was their youth pastor at one time. I think I probably handled it.
Not so graciously. There's a long line of casualties that never went back to youth group because of.
that's not true.
Hey, you know, public humiliation and shame will stop somebody from talking during your message.
It will create silence when you want it.
It will. It works.
Whether or not that kid will ever come back again, though, is not.
Yeah. But I really think 15, 20 years ago, you could get away with that a lot more because there was a little bit more respect and that was like an expectation. Like you got called out for stuff. That it definitely doesn't work now. It's changed.
So my new way of handling it normally is when I'm teaching and somebody's talking over here. Usually I'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting you guys? That's so rude of me."
And that never gets old.
It never. It's
never
always
gets,
cute.
I love it.
But it's cute, and it's like an instant, you know, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you guys. I'm sorry." That's been good, as opposed to other times that I may have done it a little differently.
A smidge different. There was a time in the late 90s, I was sitting there in youth group, and there was a guy sitting in front of me, and he just would not hush. He was talking the whole sermon, and we knew Mark would do this. And so when anybody was talking, everybody's nervous. Like, okay, when's Mark going to catch on and just chew this kid out? We can't listen. And so this kid's talking, and Mark says something like, "All right, guys, you guys need to be quiet and listen up. You know, I'm not some substitute teacher you could just be disrespectful to." And the guy sitting in front of me, who had been obnoxious, comes up with the lamest comeback line, but says it out loud back to Mark while Mark's teaching. He says, "Well, yeah, if you were a substitute teacher, I'd be throwing spitballs at you," and which was so not funny. But Mark's response, on the other hand, just in all seriousness, looks over at him and just gives him one of these loud laughs, and then stops and humiliates the guy. We're all dying, and. Yeah, I don't think he ever came back.
That was not the way to do that.
No.
Nay. He did come back, by the way.
He did.
Eventually.
He did.
After some counseling. So, what we're talking about is how do you handle moments like that? And exploding back at a kid is not the way to do it. And what I'm trying to help kids understand is that adults aren't much different from you. We don't like being embarrassed in front of people. We don't like to be made look dumb in front of people. So when we're backed into a corner, we don't know what to do sometimes but to fire back. But what I need to know as an adult is if I call that kid out in front of his friends, he has no choice now but to come back. So we're creating an impossible situation. And I was speaking one night and just looking at some kids, and they're just sitting to each other talking, just back and forth, full voice, you know, just talking while and it was a lot of kids in the room, but it was still happening. And it just hit me, you know, if it was just me and that kid in a room and I was talking to him, there's no way he would be doing that. There's no way. Maybe even if Billy and Bobby were together in a room, just me and the two of them, and I was talking to them, they wouldn't sit each other and go, "So anyway, la 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 la." So are they really that rude? Or in the back of their mind, are they thinking, "He's not talking to us. He's not really talking to us. He's talking to group. He's speaking a lesson thing. It just has nothing to do with us." And I think a lot of kids that cut up in class, one of the reasons is they're not really convinced you're even talking to them, and they think that he's talking to everybody else in here. If it was just talking to me, I'd be just looking right at him, but he's not. And so that began to make me want to find ways to connect with a kid in a group even more so than just talking to a blanket crowd, and making eye contact with more and more of the kids, and walking around more, moving around more, doing things that draw their attention in to where they think they're not just one more kid in a room. Because there's a chance that the kids in your class aren't as rude as they seem. They're just not really sure we're talking to them. When it comes to calling kids out, I think it's always better to do things generally instead of calling kids straight to a kid, because I've done it that way and it never pays off well. There are going to be other people in the room that see you call that kid out and think, wow, that was really rude to embarrass him. So I'm not only going to hurt that kid, I'm going to hurt other people in the room by how I handle that situation. One of the things that I'm trying to do in the past is, and we've done this, I know y'all have done this, is going up to the kid later and saying, hey, can you help me out? You know, not, hey, you're awful, but I'll go to some of the kids that are the tougher ones in the room. I'll say, could you show up a little earlier and help me set this room up? Because, man, I need some help with doing all this. There's so much to do. And when that kid starts seeing that he matters to you and he's needed to you, and he starts feeling a little of the weight of like, this is sort of something I'm a part of, that kid's less likely to sit in the back and goof off. So the more I can give that kid some ownership, the more that kid's gonna be plugged into what we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big thing too, because I was the same way, and maybe part of that was comparison. I thought, Mark didn't take anything from anybody, so I'm going to go in. I'm not taking anything from anybody. In fact, I remember like my first month at my first church, I was just waiting, like hoping somebody would talk while I was talking, because I had my lines ready. I was so ready. But then I started thinking, like, when we started having new people show up, like they didn't know me, that I was just sarcastic or whatever. So their impression of me was, oh yeah, this dude's a jerk. But I think if you can get your adult leaders who are hanging out with you, get them from just sitting together in the back, and I've got a group of middle school guys that they like to talk, and I don't think they're like disrespectful punks, but they just talk when they get together. But I've got a guy, his name's Dustin, and he's just awesome about going. He'll just go sit right up in the middle of them, and they chill. They stop once Dustin's there, and so you need some adults that will help you out with that too.
Mm-hmm. Or students that have the ability to stop everybody else around. And you said that. I'll text a kid in service. Like if you're speaking and I'm in there, and some of that crowd's going crazy, I'll be like, you guys need to lock it up. And normally they'll look up and we'll make eye contact, and it's done. It's over. And they don't talk anymore. And that works well.
You're texting while
I would never. Yeah, I do.
But there's texting used in a good way.
So I think if you can anticipate it, like go ahead and plan for it, because when you're up there and you haven't planned for it and they're doing it, they won't be quiet like it is. You got to stop them because nobody else is listening. And so for me, the urgency makes me overreact. So if I can plan for it and get ahead of it, it goes a lot better.
So we hope this is helping, because it's going to happen. The next time you teach, it's going to happen, because kids are kids. So let's love them like Jesus.